Alright people, so this is Minicoder coming back to you with ASP.NET MVC series. This is the second part in routing. Just to recap real quick, because I know I kind of feel like I went a little quick in the last episode. We made a few changes to the project. I think that's fine. However, I just want to go over very quickly here the routes page, because what we are going to be doing at the very end of this tutorial is going over how to do route attributes, which is a new way of doing routing. I don't necessarily recommend it for the regular MVC application. However, I do like using it for Web API, which I'll be doing in another series. One of the main reasons I don't like doing it in an MVC application itself is because the attributes, not what we're doing, is mainly because in the attributes you'll be putting it at the top of each action or each method, as opposed to here, what the URL is going to be. And by doing that, you as a developer has to go into each controller to see what the routes are. Now, the other part of that, though, also is if you don't break these up into like methods of each controller or each, object or mini application, however you're doing this, this can get unwieldy too, because you can have hundreds and hundreds of routes if you aren't careful about how you structure them. The other side of that coin is that this forces you to structure them correctly, or forces you to at least think about your structure. There's a lot out there on how people think, and just like everything else on patterns, everybody's got their opinion. But I just like to give my 2 cents on the matter. I think that I tend to sit on the fence on on a lot of the patterns and which theory makes more sense of that pattern, because I tend to be the one that that merges a lot of patterns together, like taking the MVC pattern and MVVM pattern and kind of making them uh, uh, fit together. I don't think either one completely lends itself to a real enterprise application. Once you're going to have a team working on it, I think sticking just to one pattern and being very strict and academic about it, or purist, you'll see a lot out there, I don't think is appropriate either. A lot of people probably chastise me for saying that, but that's just how I feel. So anyhow, each one of these routes has a name. The name has to be specific or unique. The URL is the URL path that is going to be used. So if we run this real quick, and I just put this aside here. Well, actually, let me just do employee 1. That is going into this employee 1 method. And the reason for that is it is actually hitting this route. It looked at this route. It says, okay, you're going to employees, employer ID. So it almost matches this, but as soon as it sees that you're not going here, it goes to the next one. And then the URL of employees. Okay, we're passing in 1, so employee ID. Great. And so it will go find the method in here that matches employee ID. With or an employee ID as the parameter being passed into the action or method. So it's going to hit here. I'll go get the employees. Then I do my finding the employee ID, return the view, and there you go. There's your edit screen. We showed you that you have options with Razor, not only with the text box 4 or any of the 4 options of extension or in the HTML HTML Razor syntax extensions. You not only have the option to make these text boxes, but you can append the attributes to it by using this @ sign and then the name of the attribute that in this case, the input text box has to it, and then setting the string value of what it should be. And we did read only and disabled just to show you. And now it might be hard to see, but it is grayed out. I wanted to show you both. I can just do read only. You don't really need to do disabled, or you don't really need to do read only. You can just do disabled, and then I believe this will work real time. Let me just double check here. I might have to restart it, but I don't think I do. It just takes a little bit. Oh, actually, it's sitting at my breakpoint right now. There you go. Come on. Nope, it didn't refresh yet. There we go. Okay, so you'll notice that it's not grayed out yet. However, I was hitting my backspace and it wanted no part of it. So, you'll see that won't work. So, doing your you could, or I'm sorry, not doing, but you can also do at class here too. At class, and then if you have Bootstrap, I don't think this comes right with Bootstrap, but you can do btn dash primary. I think I'm not the I'm not a CSS guru, so pardon me if that's not right. Actually, I think it might be btn primary. I think that might be it. Let's see if that works. And the one thing you have to be careful of, that error doesn't really mean anything. You won't run into that unless you actually put that URL in. Visual Studio tries its best to know what you want to do, as Microsoft always tries to do. And because I'm in the employee view, it tries to do employees controller / employee, and we don't have that route set. The route is not set up to handle it that way. So that's why you're getting this weird error. Let me see here. Is it stuck on the breakpoint? Yeah, it is. Okay. Alright, so just wait a second here. And then, yep, okay. So there you go. So it made its a little button. Now, obviously, it was a text box, read only at that, but it was a text box, and I made it a button class. But it gives you the example, and that was the first thing that came to mind. So I apologize for that, but I know it doesn't make sense to do it that way, but it gets my point across. So there we go. So that's that. The last route that we were going to go over is this one, the direct reports. So the direct reports, that extends it to be the employee's manager, or being the manager and getting your direct reports to it. So we've got employees, then we've got the ID that we're passing in, then / direct reports, so that will bypass this one on line 18, employees and employee ID, and direct report ID. So if you give this whole path right here in your URL, then it's going to default to going to this controller and this action, which is right here. And by the way, I don't remember if I said it in the last episode, but spelling matters here. This is case sensitive, and it does have to match what you put in your squigglies here, as well as the route attribute version that I'll show you in a minute. So what we're going to do here is we will bring up, whoops, not that one. We will bring up, where is it? Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting it's bringing up. I have 10, so it brings up the old IE 11. Okay, so let's see. Let's do one that actually works first. So we breakpoint into here. We did our get employees. We're setting a direct report to null, and I'll show you why in a second. We get the employee. If the employee is not equal to null, and there are direct reports, and the direct report ID is equal to this direct report ID, then we set direct report to the employee's direct report. There's plenty of ways to do this, and we'll clean it up later. I just wanted to quickly do this, and remember also that there will be possibility for multiple direct reports later. So that's why I just did this down and dirty. And then you send back the direct report, which is of type employee VM object. In the direct reports, view is just like the employee detailed view of model type employee VM, not IEnumerable, so it's a singular. It's expecting a singular object back. And then remember this magic keyword model from previous videos. It says that whatever passed into me, I'm going to make it of type model, which by IntelliSense will, I don't know if it'll let me hover over it here or not. No, it's not going to let me hover over it, but trust me that this model is of type of employee VM. As soon as you set this at model to something, this keyword model is equal to that type of object. And then whatever you stuff into that view method that you're returning the view result, it stuffs that into here. And if for whatever reason, in fact, after this I'll show you, you do not match them, it will bark at you. So what we're saying here is if the model is not equal to null, so if you have a direct report, show the edit view, and we can make partials. We'll deal with partials at some other point because this is redundant code to the edit view. Otherwise, just show an H3 object that there are no direct reports for this. So if we hit continue, we have our direct report that has information in it. Great. And it doesn't have a direct report itself, but that doesn't matter. And there we go. Employee edit screen. Whoop, direct report screen. There we go. Maybe nervous there for a second. Okay, great. And there's your direct report, direct title, and the ID of 5, which is what we put up here. Great. If we put 4, which doesn't exist, I'll show you right down here in Get Employees. The only one that has a direct report is of ID 5, and it's the first one. So what we did was employee ID 1 and direct report ID 4, which is going to fall out of here and keep this to be null. That's why I set this to null initially. I didn't feel like having an else there, that else equals null, and making a new object for no apparent reason. And then there you go. There are no direct reports for this employee. So there you go. So that's how that works. We're at 12 minutes, so I'm just going to quickly go over routing attributes. Like I said, it's really a preference. Excuse me. Oh, what I did want to show real quick is, let's say we did, let's return 4, because I don't have another object in here yet, so I can't show you putting in another object, but this is primitive int 4, okay? Let me just run this real quick and I will show you what happens. You should get an error. Employees, direct reports, and it really doesn't matter whether it's correct or not because I'm not sending direct report anymore, and it will blow up. And what it's going to tell you is, hey, the model that we passed in is of type sysint. Now in 32. Now if it was object of type manager or whatever, this would say is what was passed is of type of type manager. But this direct dictionary requires a model type of employee directory blah 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 employee VM. So if you're not passing in the employee VM, it can't bind it. So it's doing all that binding for you, which is actually relatively nice. If you're not going to do a client-side binding like Angular or Knockout or React.js or any of those, this is an excellent server-side binding. I'm not gonna, I definitely enjoy using MVC. So anyhow, I think probably the easiest one to do would be, you know what, direct report. Let's do that, because I think that'll make the most sense. So let's see, route, and now what does route want? Route wants a name and an order ID is one option, or the template and the properties. Alright, so the pattern of the route to match. So the pattern would be, where is my route? The pattern would be right here. I don't think you need anything else. I think we can just close our parenthesis and that's it. Okay. So, now, this will take precedence over whatever's in the routing table. But, just to show that this works exactly the same as this would work, I'm going to comment this guy out. We have our route here, so in theory it should in theory it should go through. It would, if you look at all of these, there is no route that would match, but it should still work. And this is even more where the case sensitivity matters. They both matter in both places, but I said I was going to show you where. Ooh, really? A 404 error. Why is that? Employees, employee ID, direct reports, direct report ID. Let me. Why is that not working? Well, direct report ID, direct reports. Huh. Okay. Didn't expect that. This was, of course, this was the only thing I didn't test before I made the video. Direct reports. Does it need anything else? Let's see. Oops. Let's stop the code here. Route attribute properties. Order gets the order this route is applied. And we can do template properties name equals string. Oh, does this want? Okay, so this works a little. I haven't done this in a while this way because I've been mostly living in the API world. I think gets or sets the name of the route. Let me look this up real quick. Hold on. Sorry about this, guys. Let me just look this up really quick. MVC prefix route. Route squiggly product ID squiggly. Oh. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Hold on one second. Let me see. Huh. Okay. I think. Let's do this one first. Let's do employee ID first. Because it looks like that's the easiest to mimic here. From what they're showing me here. And employee review ID, employee ID. Okay. And let's go back here and we will get rid of this one right here. Okay. Now if this doesn't work, what I will probably do is I will break here because we're at 19 minutes and look it up and come back to it. But this is also part of debugging, so it never hurts to see everything going on. Employee 1, employees 1. Am I putting in the wrong URL? Interesting. Yeah, it is definitely not doing what I would expect it to do. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break here. And before I upload another one, I'm going to look this up and I will complete it. Alright, thanks guys. I will be back in a few. Alright everybody, welcome back. Sorry about that. So, I did find out what the problem was. The problem was, and I don't think you even have to do this in Web API, and like I said, I apologize. I spend most of my time in the Web API world and MVC Angular stuff, so I'm not doing routing in the MVC world that much. Apparently, you have to enable MVC attributes. So I have a feeling in the MVC world, they probably, when it's not Web API, they probably prefer you to not do this if it's not turned on in the template. That's just my gut feeling. However, I think it's still valuable to know it's there. Everything you do in one, you can do in the other. So I commented out all the employee stuff. So the only default thing we have here is the home controller, just to prove out that the routing works. So after you do that, I added this route and this route right here. What's interesting, why I ended up doing the employee ID one that I thought was pretty neat, is which I'm heavily into security, so this is a really cool feature. Is that you can actually write in the route specify what type you're expecting, and just return a 404 automatically if you don't. And I just tested that out. If you do employee / Greg or Bob or Jeff or whatever, it's going to give you this 404 not found. If I go back to doing the one like we've been doing, bam, goes right in there. Sees that it's an integer, and there you go, you're in your edit screen. And to prove out that the direct report still works, there's your direct report. Falls right into here, and remember, all I did from before, I just I kept what was there. I copied in exactly what was in the URL over here. Where is it? Right over here. And you don't have to do any of the other stuff, route map route, because you're not building a routing table. And then we should get our direct reports. There you go. And same thing with 4. If you do 4, it shouldn't find it, and it'll come back and say there are no direct reports. So there you go. So there's routing. We all learned something new today, so that's always a good time. I know that this definitely went over my norm. It's 22 minutes, so I'm going to let you go. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to go over next. We might go into the service world, but just so everybody's clear, we have been still working within this area right here. We haven't really requested any data to anything yet. The only data we've ever requested is data off of a private method real quick that I stubbed up here within the controller, which you never, in the real world, you never want to do this, because you're going to really lock yourself down and tie your hands behind your back when you have to actually make changes to anything. So this was just for demoing purposes, more for a mock. And probably, I think next time, that's probably where we'll go, is moving everything into services, making our direct reports object, that kind of stuff. So until then, I will bid you goodbye. Have a great evening, and I will put the URL to the routing attributes of URL that I found on how to do that routes map MVC attribute routes method. That way, if anybody wants to look into it further in the routing attributes, you can feel free to. And remember also that those attribute routes and the routing mapping that we're doing in MVC also translates to Web API. So anyhow, have a great afternoon, and I will speak to you soon.